Hello, everyone. I am Kelsey Lemon, Senior Technical Marketing Manager here at VMware, and I want to welcome you to our product overview of Skyline Advisor Pro. So with that, let's dig into our agenda. I'm going to give a quick overview of the service and talk about the value that Skyline Advisor Pro provides. Then I'm going to spend the bulk of the presentation showing the product in action. Advisor Pro also offers an API, which I'll go into more deeply in a separate session with my colleague Sunny Gwen, but I will provide an overview of its capabilities here. So let's jump right in and talk about the service itself by answering the question, what is Skyline? Well, to answer that question, right, I want to set some context about the overall support experience that I'm sure that you can all relate to. So here it goes, right? As a customer, I'm sure you're all very familiar with the traditional reactive support scenario, right? Where you experience an issue in your environment, you open an SR with VMware, and then our tech support team troubleshoots and works with you to solve that issue. Well, VMware Skyline Advisor Pro is the next step in that process. It's a proactive support technology, meaning that it can actually help you avoid issues before they happen so you don't even have the problem in the first place. Skyline Advisor Pro also helps resolve existing issues faster. So say, for example, if you have a case open with us, our tech support engineers can use Skyline to view your environment-specific configurations, and then they can use data-driven analytics to speed discovery and ultimately drive faster resolution times. And Skyline's automated detection and proactive remediation guidance helps you strengthen your environments, right? So with this service, you can actually avoid IT downtime, and then you can reallocate that time to do more valuable work. But here's the best part. Skyline Advisor Pro is available at no additional cost with your active production and premier support contracts. And I'm also very happy to say that Skyline is included with Success 360 and vRealize Cloud Universal subscriptions. And speaking of environment-specific configurations, Skyline supports all the products listed here. And these capabilities, they're driving value to our customers. We're hearing that Skyline helps our customers avoid constantly being in firefighting mode. Our customers are reducing costly downtime, which is often caused by misconfigurations, and that increased network reliability actually translates into less time fixing errors. And as you can see here from a recent industry report, 1 hour of downtime for an enterprise customer averages $500,000, and companies who are strategically making a decision to take a more proactive approach to support are significantly reducing that unplanned downtime. So we're talking hundreds of hours here. And to date, Skyline Advisor Pro has helped over 12,000 plus customers identify nearly 90 million objects in their environments with potential issues, and our customers have proactively resolved more than 60% of them on their own. And when there are times where you may need to react to an issue that wasn't proactively resolved, Skyline Advisor Pro can support you here as well through our log assist feature, which is actually 17 times faster than manual log upload and transfer processes, which again has translated into nearly 100,000 hours saved. And if you've done the traditional log transfer process, I'm sure you can relate to how slow it is. So the log assist feature actually removes that pain by giving you that very valuable time back to do more meaningful work. So how does Skyline work to enable these types of benefits? Well, first you install and configure a lightweight appliance called the Skyline Collector into your environment. And once the Skyline Collector is installed and configured to your endpoint, it actually starts to listen to collect product usage data. And then based on this data, Skyline performs a comprehensive analysis of your environment details. And then at that point, Skyline acts to provide proactive findings and recommendations via a web-based portal. And so from a high-level diagram point of view, the architecture looks like this. First, there is a cloud services organization that you'll create. I've covered this in our Day 2 Mastery Series playlist on our YouTube channel. But a component of the cloud services organization is users, specifically users that have access to the Skyline Advisor service. And again, both of them sit within the Cloud Services Organization wrapper that you create, which can also include other services like VROPS Cloud, for example. Then at that point, the collectors are installed on your data centers on-prem, and then you can add various endpoints for the collector to monitor. And these endpoints provide product usage data to the collector. And this product usage data is then sent to our analysis platform in the cloud, where the results appear as findings and recommendations in Skyline Advisor Pro. And it's important to keep those collectors healthy, because when they're not, it actually inhibits Skyline's ability to provide proactive findings and recommendations and transfer support bundles to global support services. In another training module, I discuss how to maintain and restore collector health, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already done so. And finally, ensure that all of your supported product endpoints are connected to your collectors. If all of your endpoints aren't connected, Skyline's visibility is limited, and that impacts its ability to deliver the most comprehensive recommendations that will allow you to keep your environments out of harm's way. And whenever I discuss how the collector works, I inevitably get questions about security. So let's go into it. When you activate Skyline, you consent to participate in VMware's Enhanced Customer Experience Improvement Program, otherwise known as CEIP, that allows VMware to collect configuration, feature usage, performance data, as well as product logs to provide recommendations, insights, and support, as well as drive product improvement. Data collected is transmitted to VMware using TLS 1.2 encryption protocol, and product usage data is sent to VMware's storage platform and is encrypted in transit and at rest. I should also note that all data is tagged with legally identifiable customer information, and access to that data is limited to VMware employees in support and management, and they all must undergo training and receive manager approval. Last but not least, no personally identifiable information, that PII, is collected. And so with that said, you should never enter personal or sensitive data to your host when you're naming things such as your ESXi hosts, your virtual machines, or even your dashboards. And Skyline is SOC 2 compliant, by the way. So without further ado, let's jump right into the service so that we can see it in action. When you log into the advisor, you're initially greeted with this dashboard. It's a single pane of glass where, as an IT manager or admin, you get everything that you expect to see at your fingertips. You'll see your organization name, your account ID, and your entitlement account information. The dashboard also provides an overview of your total number of active findings. You get a graphic overview of their level of severity so that you can immediately see the number of critical findings that could potentially cause data corruption, the number of moderate findings that could impact usability, and the number of trivial findings that advise you on recommended best practices. And if you're wondering, these findings can also be broken down by category and by finding type. Skyline Advisor Pro's dashboard will even give you an overview of what's currently trending in your environment when it comes to activities that have either put new objects at risk, as well as objects that are no longer at risk with this historical trends feature. And we're going to be going into more detail about that feature a little bit later in the session. You know, earlier I talked about the importance of the collector and how important it is to keep them healthy. Well, the Skyline Advisor dashboard also gives you the ability to see the state of their health so that you can take the appropriate action to restore them if necessary. The dashboard also provides an overview of log assist usage, which is a very popular feature that does exactly what the name implies. But at a high level, this feature helps you create log bundles and attach them to support requests that our support team can help you resolve. And as you can see, I have one open support request, but as an admin for this organization that Skyline is monitoring, I can see other support requests for other team members as well, and I'm going to demonstrate how you can do that later in the demo. Then there's insight into the environment that Skyline is proactively monitoring as part of its operational overview and inventory summary. And this is where things get really interesting because this reflects all of the endpoints that Skyline has been made aware of during the configuration of the collector. Now, in this case, Skyline is monitoring an environment that consists of multiple vCenters, hosts, and virtual machines, as well as connections to my vRealize Operations Manager, Horizon Connection servers, and my NSX objects. Now, as an IT manager or admin, I particularly like the operational overview and inventory summary because I can see what the collectors are monitoring. And when it's an exact match to what I know about my environment, it actually increases my confidence in the proactive findings that Skyline recommends. And as you can see for the configuration summaries and pie charts, there's a lot happening here. A lot of data that provides great insight that will allow me to do my job more effectively. Last but not least, the dashboard provides notifications for key things that you should be aware of, and they come in two forms. First, there are end-of-life insights. You know, prior to Skyline Advisor Pro, you relied on conversations with your account team or an email of some sort to be notified when your installed solutions will no longer receive general support or technical guidance in those patches, those upgrades, and those bug fixes. Well, Skyline Advisor Pro cuts out the middleman, so to speak, by providing those same notifications directly in its dashboard. But it doesn't stop there. Clicking on a notification will tell you exactly where that product is in its lifecycle phase and indicate how many days are left. You'll even get the total number of findings and recommendations that are associated with that product. And this is a really important feature because with the ability to see at a glance when support is coming to an end, you have sufficient time to plan upgrades and ensure business continuity with minimum disruption. And the second notification relates to collector health. If for any reason any of your collectors are unhealthy, Skyline will tell you the exact name of that collector and its status. And in this case, I have a collector that's inactive due to communication issues, and I can refer to the appropriate KB or knowledge base article to address it. Now, I should also point out that Advisor Pro supports dark theme, which is great for those times when you may be working in a dimly lit environment. And now for the meat of the demo, active findings and recommendations. These are environment-specific issues that could potentially disrupt day-to-day business and give you a lot of headache, quite frankly, if you don't take action to address them. Now, it's really important to note that I said environment-specific because this is actually the value of Skyline Advisor Pro, meaning that these findings aren't some generic rule of thumb or tip of the day recommendations that you as an IT professional already know about. These findings are relevant to this specific environment and they can play a key role in informing the next steps in your risk management plan. So let's take a look at one of my active findings. As you can see, it's presented in an easy to read card format. And when I click on it, I can see a unique finding ID that can be used in discussions internally or with VMware Global Support Services. I can see its level of severity. I see a description of the potential issue discovered within this environment, as well as an indication of the risk to my environment if the recommended action is not completed. I also see a list of all of the objects that could be impacted by the potential issue, as well as hyperlinks to VMware knowledge base articles, security advisories, and other VMware documentation that will help me resolve the issue. So this specific finding indicates that a vulnerability exists due to a use after free error within the OpenSOP service, meaning that a remote attacker could potentially send a specially crafted SOP message to port 427 that could trigger a use after free error and execute arbitrary code on the system. Now, with that said, I even have the option to export all of this data to a CSV file, which can be given to someone on my team who may be responsible for resolving the issue. Now, this export feature is available for all Skyline customers, and the resulting CSV file can be leveraged by CLI tools to automate the remediation of this finding. So as you can see, there's a lot of information here. Earlier, you heard me talk about Skyline's ability to filter the information that it provides to make it more relevant to you. So let's take a look at that. I can also filter findings based on specific criteria such as severity, category, product, finding type, solution, as well as even when the potential issue was first observed. I can even use keyword searches to zero in on specific findings. For example, I can search for certificate expirations, L1 terminal fault, and of course, potential issues related to PSOD. In addition to adding filters and keyword searches to help you prioritize the findings that are most important to you, Skyline Advisor Pro also gives you the ability to hide the findings that aren't. For example, if I no longer wanted to see trivial findings, I can apply that filter to isolate them all, and then I can hide them. Now keep in mind that these findings have not been deleted. I can see them under my Hidden Findings option, and I can always unhide them in the future if they become a priority for me to resolve. And now for the really interesting part. So let's say, for example, you have a host that you're either using for testing purposes or it's in the process of being decommissioned, and you no longer want that specific object to be included in Skyline's search for potential vulnerabilities because it simply adds more noise to your results. So basically, you don't want to hide the finding itself. You simply don't want that object to report that finding. So here's that finding. And as you can see, Skyline is reporting several objects that could be impacted by it. And one of them is a host in my test dev environment. Now I'm going to exclude that object by finding it in my inventory tree and turning off its visibility. And as you can see, that object is no longer included in that findings list of objects that could potentially be impacted. Now, inversely, if I were to make that object visible again, it will appear in my findings list of potentially impacted objects. Now, keep in mind that if I have any finding or recommendation that only had that one object whose visibility I excluded, then the finding itself will no longer be reported by Skyline. So often I get asked, what can I do with the data that Skyline provides to proactively remediate potential issues before they become real problems? And this is where upgrade recommendations can help. And this feature is available under Findings and Recommendations. Clicking on Upgrade Recommendations displays all the recommendations for your environment, and they're sorted by vCenter Server. And if there are multiple upgrade recommendations, they're displayed in the order of upgrade sequence. Now in this example, this particular vCenter server has multiple objects that can be upgraded. Clicking on one of the upgrade recommendations will tell me exactly how many findings will be proactively resolved if that upgrade were to be performed. So in this case, if I upgraded this EXXI host from 6.5 to 6.5 U3, I would resolve 50 potential issues at once. But if I do decide to upgrade to a higher version than what is recommended, then the automatic product interoperability check will be invalidated. And speaking of interop, you may be asking yourself if performing the recommended upgrades will break connections to other VMware solutions that you're running. And I'm happy to say that Skyline automatically checks product interoperability for upgrade recommendations. Clicking on Show Details next to the upgrade recommendation displays additional information, which includes the product interoperability results. The product interoperability check will alert you if another product is not interoperable with the upgrade recommendation. This way, you're made aware if another product needs to be upgraded first before performing the recommended upgrade to proactively remediate issues, again, that could have a negative impact on the environments that you manage. And while we're still on the theme of proactive intelligence, Skyline Advisor Pro and its historical insight feature provide the ability to associate key events in your environment, like a configuration change, for example, with findings that will either appear or disappear as a result of that change. It's a great way to see cause and effect, if you will, right? Whether it's by identifying where an event created an issue or resolved an existing one. The Historical Insights feature can be accessed directly from Skyline's dashboard or via the Findings and Recommendations tab. Here, you can get an overview of key events that have taken place over days, weeks, and months within your organization. These events can range from changes to your environment's composition, such as the addition or removal of products, to when a collector status has changed from unhealthy to healthy and vice versa. Historical insights, like many of other Skyline's reporting tools, can be filtered by inventory, severity, category, with the inclusion of hidden findings which aren't included by default, and of course, date range. In addition to this, historical insights will allow you to see how key event changes have an immediate impact on the objects in your environment. In this example, Skyline first observed that several products went into an unhealthy state on a specific date. Skyline has now added those affected objects to the overall running total of affected objects. I can even do a drill down on each of the reported items to get more detail on the number of affected objects, their level of severity, and the recommended fix. And these findings can even be exported as well. Along those same lines, if I want to specifically look at newly affected objects, I can do that as well. Here again, you can see the newly affected objects within this time range. Skyline will also show you how many issues have been resolved over that same time range. In this example, Skyline is reporting that 269 objects were remediated on a specific day, which could have potentially coincided with the day an upgrade recommendation was performed. Now, the net with historical insights is that it allows you to assess risk levels and document progress time. You can understand what events negatively and positively impacted your environment. And last but not least, you can correlate the number of findings and recommendations with hitting those SLAs, as well as time spent on reactive support requests. Clearly, Skyline Advisor Pro is a great reporting tool, and everything that you've seen up until this point is available to all Skyline customers. But if you're a VMware Success 360 customer, you also get access to an exclusive feature known as Insight Reports. Now, these bi-weekly and interactive reports inform stakeholders about proactive progress, issues avoided, as well as outstanding remediations. Insight Reports will even tell you which findings and recommendations will give you those quick wins and identify the ones that would require more extensive planning with your VMware Success 360 partner. What's really great about Insight Reports is the fact that they provide a health check or a wellness assessment of the systems that have active findings, and they come in two forms, standard and custom. Standard reports are generated every 2 weeks, and custom reports are generated at your request by the VMware specialist that's been assigned to you. And of course, Insight Reports can be filtered by type and date. These reports are interactive and they contain a lot of information such as finding status by severity, category, and product. You can also see proactive remediations in a certain period of time broken down by the number of remediated objects. The number of remediated objects grouped by rule type, remediated objects grouped by category and finding type. These reports also show collector health and endpoint status, where you can see collectors grouped by state, the endpoints with the highest number of active findings grouped by severity, as well as a list of all the active critical findings at a specific point in time. And the unique thing about Insight Reports that isn't available anywhere else in Skyline is the addition of resolution type. This category allows you and your dedicated support team to prioritize remediations based on their level of effort. For example, if you have 34 findings that do not require a reboot, you could prioritize doing those over more time-consuming efforts that would require a reboot or potentially a complete re-architecture. So basically what you're seeing here is that we're starting to add more contextual data to the decision-making process in terms of things that you may want to prioritize and take action on. And with the ability to leave comments on the things that you want to do or not do for that matter, you're keeping a running record of your remediation next steps that can be shared with your extended team. So with that, I'm going to pause right here because I'm going to shift the conversation a bit. Up until this point, I've been talking about Skyline's proactive and self-service capabilities to keep the environments that you manage out of harm's way. But there may be times when you will need to react to an issue that is disrupting the environments that you manage, and our support team is here to help. And Skyline can actually facilitate your interaction with our support team and even speed up time to resolution. And this is where the log assist feature comes into play. After you've submitted a support request, Skyline's Log Assist feature actually streamlines the process of manually gathering and uploading those log bundles that our TSEs will need to help troubleshoot your issue. So let me expand my inventory so I can attach a log bundle from one of my impacted objects. Now, since the SR has already been opened, I can select it and attach the log bundle by initiating a log transfer. And at this point, I'm done. In less than 2 minutes, I've created a log bundle and I've sent it to support. Now, you've heard us mention that customers are reporting a 30% time saving when creating log bundles, and this is how they're doing it. And with that, I can actually get back to doing more meaningful work now. And if I want to save myself even more time, I can even let VMware's TSEs create the log bundles for me with its log transfer request feature. I even have the option to approve or deny the request, and there's even an option to auto-approve requests from our TSE team. And to keep tabs on the status of my SRs and associated log bundle transfers, I can see them in my log library. Here, I can see who initiated the transfer, whether it was by me or by someone at VMware, and I can even see when it was done. Before I end my overview demonstration, I want to show you 3 other features within Skyline Advisor Pro. The first one is customizable email notifications. You can modify settings to alert you when log requests have been made, when new critical findings have become available, or when issues related to your collector status occur, such as health changes, upgrade availability, and even password expiration. The second feature is increased SR visibility for Skyline admins. Earlier in the demo, I showed how Skyline's dashboard allows you to see your number of open support requests and the number of times you've actually leveraged Log Assist. But if you're an admin, you can extend that visibility to see open support requests for any member in your Skyline-enabled organization. And to activate this functionality, simply toggle the View Support Requests Raised by Team Members option in the Skyline Advisor Settings tab. And with that enabled, you can submit log bundles on behalf of your extended team, as well as approve and reject log bundle requests as well. Finally, I want to make you aware of Skyline's Findings Catalog. This feature answers the question, what exactly does Skyline help protect my environment against? Here you can see everything, and the findings are sortable by severity, category, finding, and even date. And as you can see, Skyline is monitoring a lot of potential issues that could bring harm to your environment. And of course, you can apply filtering options such as severity, category, finding type, and the release date to see when the finding was actually added to the catalog. So this tool is a great way to cross-reference what Skyline is monitoring against the findings that the service has actually identified in your specific environment. And finally, you could even do keyword searches to find something that is relevant to you, such as common vulnerabilities and exposures. If you're currently using Skyline, I encourage you to check this feature out. And if you want to see other findings and recommendations that aren't appearing in the catalog, let us know, as our findings catalog is constantly expanding. Now let's talk about the Insights API feature that Skyline Advisor Pro offers. Customers like you have said that they want to do more than just view Skyline's active findings and recommendations. They want something, a tool, if you will, that allows them to take action on them. Well, the Insights API feature will allow you to do just that. With it, you can take Skyline's finding data and you can extract it via API into the tooling of your choice to automate whatever you want. For example, you want to create a ticket out of a finding? No problem. You want to use configuration automation tools? Go ahead and code away. You want to send all of your findings to Slack? Done. As I mentioned earlier, my colleague Sunny Gwen and I have a dedicated session where we show how to access and set up the tool, as well as perform the integrations mentioned here, but I would like to take a moment to provide some highlights with this montage of its capabilities. And with that, that concludes this particular session, and we hope you found it informative.